How are the other justices now with you and to you?
Let me finish first
Okay.
with the 10,
Okay.
because I've mentioned 5 already. Then, of course, during the time of President Marcos, there were 2 bypasses. This was done over Chief Justice Tihanki, who later became Chief Justice, of course. These were Ramon Aquino and Felix Macasiar. There were no pushover Chief Justices either, no? And then there is a common notion that after that, all the Chief Justices appointed were seniors. They were not. You see, when the EDSA revolution came in, the Constitution of 1973 was set aside, and a revolutionary government took over, and the Supreme Court was reorganized. During the reorganization, several members of the Marcos, if we may call it, the Marcos Supreme Court, were reappointed. Among them, Amorfina Herrera and Hugo Gutierrez, eminent jurists who were independent even during the time of President Marcos. They wrote decisions that were not palatable to the then president. They were reappointed, and yet they were put below justices like Pedro Yap, Marcelo Fernan, and Andres Narvaza, who were new in the court. They became associate justices only in 1986. Amorfina Herrera became an associate justice in 1979. Hugo Gutierrez became an associate justice in 1982. But they never became chief justices. Now, I'm not saying that Chief Justice Yap, Chief Justice Fernan, and Chief Justice Narvaza were not good chief justices. I say they were good chief justices. All I'm saying, and this is reported by Mr. Pascual, they were not the most senior in the sense that there were at least two other justices who had more experience in the Supreme Court. So I enumerated 10, quoting Mr. Pascual, 10 of the 20 past chief justices were not the most senior.
I think that's more sufficient a response to this question about seniority.
So I say, let's look at the facts and then conclude from the facts whether there is really a rule or not. I'll not make a conclusion or impose my conclusion on others, but let's be clear about the facts.
How important is it that the other justices accept the decision of the president, and how soon will you be able to break into this new position among the other justices who may not be agreeable to the choice?
You know, in the Supreme Court, we're used to agreeing and disagreeing. As we say always, to use a cliche, we agree to disagree without being disagreeable. We're used to that. I mean, every day we disagree with each other, but our friendship remains robust. We may disagree on the matters of the mind, but we always agree on the matters of the heart. I do not know where the speculation has come from that this court is divided over the appointment. We all recognize the authority of the president to make appointments.
What is your relationship with President Arroyo? Some people have the notion that you are too friendly with her, having been alongside former Chief Justice Hilario Davide in swearing her in at the time when her legitimacy was in question.
I don't know where the source of that friendship comes from or the perception of friendship. I haven't talked with President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo on a single basis. I always meet her during public functions. I haven't talked to her privately at all. In fact, when EDSA 1 or EDSA 2 happened, I didn't really know her. She didn't really know me. We have had no relationship whatsoever on a private or personal basis. All my knowledge of her were all official and were at a distance.
Do you consciously promote that distance? Do you uphold that distance?
Yes. In fact, even during her incumbency, I haven't met her at all, nor spoken with her on the telephone, except during a few social occasions when we would casually meet each other and greet each other, but that's about all.
How important is independence from the executive or from the office of the president?
It's very important that the Supreme Court is independent of the president, of Congress, of business, of everyone, because our independence flows from the fact that we must be objective. The decisions of the highest court of the land or of any court should be freed from what I call the plagues of ship, friendship, kinship, relationship, because being the last bulwark of democracy, the court must be perceived by the public to be completely objective and using only the rules of the game in deciding a controversy. And public trust and confidence can be maintained only if we are true to our word, that we are independent, that we are objective, that we are fair.
Is it important at all for you that the public is convinced of this, that you are in fact independent, or will they just really have to wait for your decisions when controversial cases are resolved?
Yes, I think the public should realize that the Supreme Court and the courts are not political entities. And therefore, speculations as to what the court should do should not be used as the basis for judging the court. The Supreme Court should be judged on the basis of its track record. You see, the Supreme Court is a collegial body, and the discussions in the Supreme Court are open, free, and untrammeled. We exist in complete freedom. Not even the Chief Justice can control what the individual magistrates would be thinking, would be doing, would be speaking on. The justices are completely free. And many times in the past, the Chief Justices, not only Chief Justice Davide, have been outvoted by the other members. The best example is the last decision of the Davide Court, which involves Piatco. In that case, both Chief Justice Davide and I voted with the minority.
So that was a surprise. Well, for many who would probably be suspicious.
Not really a surprise. To us, it's common. Because, as I always say, the Supreme Court is a kettle of free ideas. And we have the residue only after being boiled and percolated in that kettle.
While it goes without saying that you do promise to defend the courts or the court from partisan politics, is there a way by which you can explain how that can be done? Is there a process by which this is ensured through a system among the Supreme Court justices?
Only by a realization by our public, both the critics and the admirers, that the Supreme Court works in an atmosphere of freedom. And as I said, the collective will of the Supreme Court is not the will of the Chief Justice. You see, the Chief Justice has two roles. First, he's what we call the primus inter pares in the Supreme Court. He's the first among equals. But he has only one vote. He cannot use his precedence as a big stick to ensure discipline. That never happens. Okay. That never happens. That has not happened, and it will not happen.
Okay.
At the same time, of course, the Chief Justice is also the leader of the entire judicial branch. So it's not too accurate to say that the Chief Justice is a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. No. He's the Chief Justice of the Republic of the Philippines because he's the leader of the entire judicial branch. He inspires, he leads the entire judicial branch to where he wants them to go. And these are normally independence, integrity, transparency, accountability. These are the ideals by which I will move and I will conduct myself. And I expect all the courts of this country to conduct themselves.